The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus stayed in Galilee. He could not stay in Judea because the Jews were out to kill him. As the Jewish festival of tabernacles drew near, after his brothers had left for the festival, Jesus went up as well, but quite privately, without drawing attention to himself. Meanwhile, some of the people of Jerusalem were saying, "Isn't this the man that they want to kill? And here he is speaking freely, and they have nothing to say to him. Can it be true the authorities have made up their minds that he is indeed the Christ? Yet we all know where he comes from. But when the Christ appears, no one will know where he comes from." Then as Jesus taught in the temple, he cried out, "Yes, you know me, and you know where I come from. Yet I have not come of myself. No, there is one who sent me, and I really come from him. And you do not know him, but I know him, because I have come from him, and it was he who sent me." They would have arrested him then, but because his time had not yet come, no one laid a hand on him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Lord Jesus Christ.
Our reading today really paints a grave picture. In our first reading from the book of Wisdom, we have this unwise reflection that the ungodly are seeking to do harm to a person who is virtuous. Why would that happen? Why would that happen? The ungodly, they don't just leave him alone and say, "Well, you think he's virtuous, let him go." No, they physically seek to do harm to him because he is virtuous. He says, "Let us wait for the virtuous man, since he is annoying us and opposes our way of life." The ungodly is affected by the virtuous person. And that being affected leads to anger, to jealousy, to violence. And that's the story. And that's the heart of this reading. That the godliness of a person, their closeness to God, they're living the virtuous life. They're seeking to do what is right. They're doing what is right because it is right, regardless of the consequences. That affects people. It affects people. And because it affects people, violence, jealousy, rage, and all kinds of negative reactions come. The readings are given to us today to help us understand why Jesus Christ is going to be crucified. Though he was innocent and sinless, we heaped the violence of the world on top of him. Why? Because as we read in the first reading, he affected their way of life. He challenged to the core the way that they were living. He put in clear light the blindness that they were holding to. And because unconsciously the virtuous is affecting the ungodly, the virtuous becomes the target now for the ungodly. Let us reflect on that for a little bit. Have we ever been in a situation where we have stood for what is right, done the noble thing, and because of that, had people against us? Really against us. I mean, in a most bizarre way that it's not rational. It becomes irrational, and it just sets in motion this irrationality. Have you ever experienced that? Now, what about the opposite now? Have you ever become irrationally angry at somebody simply because they did something that made you feel uncomfortable, because they held the right line, because they did the right thing, because they challenged all of the mediocrity? And rather than stepping up and growing, you join the bandwagon of shaming, of naming, and of discrediting. Have you ever been on that side of this equation? Because that too is the drama of the crucifixion. That is the drama of it. The end of the reading says, this is the way they reason, but they're misled. Their malice makes them blind. They do not know the hidden things of God. They have no hope that holiness will be rewarded. They can see no reward for blameless souls. Holiness will be rewarded. Living a righteous life will be rewarded. It will create havoc here on earth for many people, but it will be rewarded. Many people will object, and many people will be put into all kinds of states of all kinds of foolishness. But the holy life is a life that has the most impact in our world. Think of Jesus Christ. Who has had more impact than Jesus? Who? And who received more anger, more negativity, more taunts, more rejection than Jesus Christ? So his holiness was rejected, but the impact of his life lasts to today and beyond today, to the end of time. And from this perspective, I want to encourage you today to see again, to listen again, to hear again, that call to holiness, that call to live a virtuous life, that call to dedicate yourself to God, that call to give yourself to Him. And wherever you are on the spectrum of the godly, the ungodly, those who have been for and helping and aiding the virtuous man, or those who have been against, chiding, and wherever we are, every one of us today can recognize ourselves in the drama of the crucifixion. And that's what's been put before us on this Friday in Lent. The drama of the crucifixion. This is the inner logic of why Christ was crucified. And we are entering into the drama. We are invited into the drama. And as we look at our nation, we are invited into this drama. And what a drama we have. And at this time, we could choose to live in a most ungodly way, or we could choose to live in a most godly way. We could choose to be neighborly. We could choose to be helpful to those most in need. We could choose to check up on those in the community who are in need of whatever they need, the lonely, the sick, the elderly. We could choose to ensure that we are our brother and sister's keeper. We could choose to do the right thing. We could choose to stop as a family and pray every day. We could choose to put our fears, our anxieties aside and recognize that God is in charge. We can choose to move away from the panic and center ourselves in God and know that God will see us through this. These are choices that we can make. As we listen to the readings today, and we see in the first reading and in the gospel, this drama of anger towards the godly. We could choose to be Simon of Cyrene, or we could choose to be Veronica, or we could choose to be the mob, the soldiers, or Pilate. We are invited to the drama of the crucifixion. Enter into it and choose which side of this drama you want to be part of. Amen.